Welcome to BeFM Drama, where we're bringing you the second week in our adaptation of A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm Josh Cornwell, and I'm your host. In our first episode this week, Holmes and Watson have just succeeded in capturing Jefferson Hope, the man responsible for a brutal and mysterious pair of murders in Victorian London. The facts of the case are now well known, but what of the motives? Join us for our second week here at BeFM Drama as the murderer explains in his own words the story that led to his heinous crimes, taking us on a journey deep into the harsh deserts of the American West. Jefferson Hope's furious resistance did not apparently indicate any ferocity in his disposition towards ourselves, for on finding himself powerless, he smiled in an affable manner and expressed his hopes that he had not hurt any of us in the scuffle.
Well, I guess you're going to take me to the police station. My cab's at the door. If you loosen my legs, I'll walk down to it. I'm not so light to lift as I used to be.
Gregson and Lestrade exchanged a doubtful glance, but Holmes took the prisoner at his word and loosened the towel which he had tied around his ankles. He stood and stretched his legs, and I remember thinking I had seldom seen a more powerfully built man. His dark, sunburned face bore an expression of determination and energy, which was as formidable as his personal strength.
Holmes, did you say your name was? There's a vacant place for the chief of police. I reckon you are the man for it. The way you kept on my trail was really something.
I'm hardly the man for the job. Gregson, Lestrade, you'd better come along with me. Gregson can drive the cab. Lestrade, come inside with me. You too, Doctor. You have taken an interest in this case and may well stick to us.
I agreed gladly, and we descended the stairs together. Our prisoner made no attempt at escape, but stepped calmly into the cab which had been his. Gregson mounted the driver's seat, whipped up the horse, and brought us in very short time to the station. We were ushered into a small, blank room where a police inspector noted our prisoner's name and the names of the men he had been charged with murdering.
The prisoner will be put before the court in less than a week. In the meantime, Mr. Jefferson Hope, do you have anything that you wish to say? I must warn you that your words will be written down and may be used against you in a court of law.
I've got a good deal to say. I want to tell you gentlemen all about it.
Hadn't you better save that for your trial?
I may never be tried. You need to look startled. It's not suicide I'm thinking of.
Hope turned his fierce, dark eyes towards me.
Are you a doctor?
Yes, I am.
Put your hand here on my chest.
I did so, and became at once conscious of an extraordinary throbbing and commotion going on inside. The walls of his chest seemed to thrill and quiver as a frail building would do inside which some powerful engine was at work. In the silence of the room, I could almost hear the dull humming and buzzing which came from that same source. Why, you have an aortic aneurysm.
That's what they call it. I went to a doctor last week, and he told me it could burst any day. It's been getting worse for years. I got it from overexposure and underfeeding in the mountains. I've done my work, and I don't care if I go, but I'd like to leave some account of this business behind me. I don't want to be remembered as a common cutthroat.
The two detectives had a hurried discussion with the police inspector and his clerk about the advisability of allowing Hope to make a statement. Finally, they turned to me.
Do you consider, Doctor, that there is immediate danger?
Most certainly there is. His aneurysm may burst at any moment.
In that case, it is our duty, in the interest of justice, to take his statement. You are at liberty to give your account, sir, which, again, I warn you, will be written down.
I'll sit, if you don't mind. This aneurysm of mine makes me easily tired, and the little fight we had half an hour ago has not helped matters. I've got one foot in the grave and no reason to lie to you. Every word I say is the absolute truth. How you use it is a matter of no consequence to me.
With these words, Jefferson Hope leaned back in his chair and began the following remarkable statement. He spoke in a calm and methodical manner, as though the events he narrated were commonplace. I have recreated what he said here in the narrative that follows, and I can vouch for its accuracy because the prisoner's words were written down exactly as they were spoken. His extraordinary tale brought us a continent away from the featureless interrogation room where we sat, listening in wonder. His story began like this. In the western portion of the North American continent, there lies a vast and arid desert, which for many long years served as a barrier against the advance of westward expansion. There are no inhabitants of this land of despair. There is no bird in the steel blue heaven, no movement on the dull gray earth, absolute silence. Nothing but silence, complete, heart-subduing silence. Looking down upon this scene, there stood on the 4th of May, 1847, a solitary traveler. If you'd seen him, you would have found it difficult to say if he was 40 or 60. His face was lean and haggard, and his brown skin was drawn tightly over his projecting bones. His eyes were sunken in his head, and his clothes hung baggily on his shriveled limbs. The man was dying from hunger and from thirst. Why not here, rather than 20 years from now? Said the man, delicately placing the heavy blanket-wrapped bundle he was carrying on the ground. It appeared to be a bit too heavy for him, and came down with a little violence. Instantly a cry came from it, and a little girl with very bright brown eyes and a freckled face poked out her head.
You've hurt me!
Have I, though? I didn't mean to.
Where's Mother?
Your mother's gone. I guess you'll be seeing her before too long.
Gone, eh? Funny. She didn't say goodbye. Is there nothing to eat?
No, there ain't nothing, dearie.
And no water? Are we going to die too?
I guess that we are. Do you think you'd like to offer up a prayer?
It ain't night yet.
That don't matter.
Why don't you say some yourself?
I don't remember any of them. You say them out loud, dear, and I'll follow along.
You'll need to kneel down, like this, and put your hands up like this. Try it. It makes you feel kind of good.
It was a strange sight if there had been anyone around to see it. Side by side on the narrow shawl knelt the two wanderers, the little child and the reckless, hardened adventurer, united in prayer for mercy and forgiveness. When they finished, they curled up together in the shade of a boulder and fell asleep. Had they remained awake for another half hour, a strange sight might have met their eyes. Far away on the dry plain, a little spray of dust rose, gradually growing higher and broader until it formed a solid cloud. After a time, the canvas-covered tilts of wagons and the figures of armed horsemen could be seen, and the apparition revealed itself as a great caravan journeying into the west. This was no ordinary group of immigrants, but nomads who had been forced to seek themselves a new country. At the head of the column, there rode a group of men clad in somber, homespun garments and armed with rifles. As they passed nearby, the youngest uttered an exclamation and pointed at the two sleepers. A scout approached, and the sleeping man jerked awake and looked down upon the plain which had been so desolate before, now covered by an enormous crowd of men and beasts. This is what they call delirium, I guess. The child stood beside him, holding on to the skirt of his coat, and said nothing, but looked all around her with the wondering, questioning gaze of childhood. My name is John Ferrier. Me and that little one over there are all that's left of 21 people. The rest of them are all dead of thirst and hunger away down in the south.
Is she your child?
I guess she is now. I saved her and no man will take her from me. She's Lucy Ferrier from this day on. Who are you, though? There seems to be an awful lot of you.
Nearly 10,000. We are the persecuted children of God, the chosen of our prophet.
I never heard tell of no prophet, but he appears to have chosen a fair crowd of you.
Do not joke at that which is sacred. We have come to seek a refuge from the violent men and the godless, even in the heart of the desert.
And where are you going?
We do not know. The hand of God is leading us under the person of our prophet. You must come before him. He shall say what is to be done with you.
Their escort led them to a wagon conspicuous for its large size and elegance. Beside the driver, there sat a man who could not have been more than 30 years of age, but whose massive head and resolute expression marked him as a leader. He was reading a brown-backed book, but as they approached him, he laid it aside. Here was the prophet. He listened attentively to their story, and when he spoke, his voice was solemn.
If we take you with us, it can only be as believers in our own faith. We shall have no wolves in our flock. Better that than your bones bleach in this wilderness than you prove to be that little speck of rot which corrupts the whole fruit. Will you come with us on these terms?
I guess I'll come with you on any terms.
Brother Stankerson, we have delayed long enough. Forward! Mr. Ferrier, you and the girl shall remain here in my wagon. In a few days you will have recovered from your fatigue. In the meantime, remember that now and forever you are part of our religion. The prophet has said it, and he has spoken with the voice of God.
What may become of John Ferrier and Lucy as they join the wagon train of this strange prophet and his followers? How are these strange events so far removed from London connected to the awful murders of Enoch Drebber and Joseph Stangerson at the hands of Jefferson Hope? Join us tomorrow to find out as we follow this story deeper towards its dark heart. From BeFM Drama, this is your host, Joshua Cornwell.